Alright, welcome back to Channel Top Gaming. This is Aaron. We're going to do a Guilds of Ravnica ranked draft. Let's jump on in. Now, Guilds of Ravnica was, and is, I think a really fun set. It seemed to get stuck in some grooves as far as people going for Boros and Dimir so quickly, but I believe any of the guilds really are playable. Boros and Dimir being a little easier, a little more powerful probably, but Golgari as well as Selesnya decks absolutely still being in the mix. And then depending on which cards you put together for your Izzet deck, it can be either an aggro or a control deck, and can honestly be top tier as well. So there's a lot of different options. For our pick one, pack one, first we do have Etrata. Etrata is excellent, especially in a grindier Dimir style deck like this is good for, with a lot of different control. Surveil to control your library, as well as just control the creatures on the board, control the hand. This functions as a phenomenal blocker. So when you do decide to attack, you can take out a very powerful creature on their side, which you then shuffle Etrata back in, but with Surveil and hopefully anything else, you're going to be able to get her back out pretty quickly. So 3 damage, take care of a creature, or just a infinite blocker, ain't bad at all. Chemist's Insight goes in a couple different decks. There's an Izzet Spells deck. It can go in a Dimir deck. It's just a very good flexible card. You see it a lot in Constructed, and it's definitely in consideration here. Swarm Guildmage. Out of the different guild mages, it's probably a little less immediately effective, like the Dimir House Mage, House Guild Mage, or say the Boros ones seem to have a more immediate impact and synergize a little better, but in the right situation, a Swarm Guild Mage can also win you the game, or just keep you alive long enough, or build up life if you have a gridlocked board. Hunted Witness is key in Boros aggro. Can also clearly go in Selesnya 2 for Convoke, but 1-drops are at a premium. Fast Boros decks are really hard to keep up with if played correctly in this format. Skyline Scout also goes in that same deck, one of the better 2-drops. Very weak, but considering you're generally trying to just dump your hand, get on board, and get the life total down as quickly as possible, it fits in nicely. Righteous Blow is playable, though not highly sought after in that same deck. And some other chaff. Watcher in the Mist is great. It's actually in consideration at the top 3 cards, being Chemist's Insight, Etrata, and Watcher. And if Etrata wasn't here, we'd really be picking between Chemist's and Watcher. Being able to Surveil 2 on your 5-drop is great. It's almost like just drawing an extra card, or even 2. You get lands out of the way that you most likely don't want anymore. Maybe throw stuff in the graveyard if you want to, but then just control and dig for cards that you want immediately, especially on turn 5 is nice. You can get through in the air, and flying is important in all limited formats, but it seems especially powerful in this one. And then it blocks well too, so just all around a really good card. That said, it mostly goes in Dimir, and if we're going into Dimir, Etrata is just more powerful, with Chemist's Insight just being a nice runner-up. But let's go ahead and start off strong. Alright, Chamber Sentry is more of a constructed card, even in, say, our deck, if we end up straight up Dimir, we could still maybe splash a gate or 2, give us a little bit of extra color, possibly a locket. That said, you're not getting a whole lot. You're getting a semi-repeatable creature that you can't even recur unless you really stretch your mana base for it. So it's really hard to consider this takeable over other cards that I already see in the pack. We talked about Guildmage. Ledev Champion for Selesnya early on is phenomenal. You drop this on 3, you could potentially start attacking for 3, 4, or even more on turn 4. And then if it's a grid-locked board, you just start making more and more soldiers with lifelink until you can tap those down and attack in for another big swing, or possibly just keep flooding the board. Luxodon Restorer is better in best of 3 in surprisingly like a Boros deck. If you're playing a mirror match with Boros, then Restorer is phenomenal. It gets you 4 life and a big body to block on the ground, which usually in Boros is enough to bring it to a standstill and possibly even break a stalemate. That said, you know, you only play maybe 1 or 2 at the most, and usually out of the sideboard. You have to be pretty strapped to play this in main deck for best of 1. Luminous Bonds is premier removal, especially in white. I don't consider there's other options in this pack that I can see that we wouldn't end up taking this just as a pick 1 pack 2 with already a black blue gold card that we picked for our pick 1, but it is very strong, and if we had any Selesnya or Boros pick for our pick 1, then we would likely be picking Luminous Bonds. Veiled Shade is fine filler. Vicious Rumors is pretty much unplayable. Maximum Velocity goes in some of the trickier Izzet decks. You can play it in Boros, but generally you don't want that slot. It's just not usually worth the slot over just another creature. Ornery Goblin, excellent aggro, hard to block, hard to be blocked by. Wojek Bodyguard goes also in either Boros or Izzet. Usually aggro, since clearly you want creatures on board and you want to be able to attack. Sometimes if you strand it in a deck without enough creatures, it's just dead on board, since the opponent can kill creatures around it, effectively nullifying it. Siege Worm is fine in a Convoke deck, and then Artful Takedown is excellent removal. Not quite the best in the set, but up there all the same, and it goes already with our very strong pick 1. And then we have a Locket and a Guildgate. Wouldn't mind if we can wheel this Guildgate, that'd be great. That'd be great. Alright, so no good Dimir picks in this pack. Electrostatic Field goes in the Izzet Spells deck. You can even put it into a Boros deck if you're maybe short on playables, just as a failsafe blocker, and then your tricks also do a little damage, but usually you're not playing it in that deck if you can help it, possibly out of the sideboard if you're playing a best of 3, and again you're trying to get some extra blocking down on the ground. Sprouting Renewal seems like it should be better with the flexibility of Convoke as well as 2 different modes, but by and large, if you want to destroy a target artifact or enchantment, then there is Crushing Canopy, which is actually at common, but it's an instant that you can an enchantment, or you can hit a flying creature, and it just tends to be more desirable and more flexible. Color the Culprit is again okay out of maybe a sideboard if you're playing white. Generally, though, I find it's pretty hit or miss. If there's better removal, if you're strapped for removal, possibly you can play it. Other than that, though, you shouldn't be taking it too highly. We already talked about Skyline Scout being a good 2-drop for an aggro deck. Maximize Altitude has nice synergy with a Piston Fist Cyclops, which is a 4/3 that needs a spell to be cast for it to be able to attack. If not, it's just a defender. Dowser of Lights is a fine big body that we wouldn't mind playing 1 of if we need it. Definitely don't want to take it pick 3. Fire Urchin, again, can go in either aggro deck. It does have, some people don't think it maybe goes in Boros as well, but honestly, if you get a Mentor trigger or even 2 on it, then now it's a 2/4 or a 3/5 base trample that can get pumped up with several different spells in the middle of combat. Like, say, Sure Strike. You know, you Sure Strike your Fire Urchin, all of a sudden it's actually a 5/3 trample first strike, and that's without any Mentor triggers. Recluse is good on the sideboard if you're best of 3. I don't ever think I've played. Pause for reflection. Rosemane Centaur is one of the best commons in its colors. We're way too far away from Selesnya, but even if you're in Boros, possibly you splash green for a Naya color, and you can easily splash a Rosemane Centaur in there. Or if you're Selesnya, it's one of the best cards you can pick up. So very, very thin, very weak pack for us. Even trying to keep ourselves open to say maybe splashing red or having to move over into Is It, even though neither of these cards splash. There's just not a lot that's making this very exciting. We could take our Dowser now, and then we got it out of the way, but we'll just almost always see some late. So it's kind of between Maximize Altitude, which is one of the only cards we can play out of this pack, which we might end up playing somehow, or grabbing the Centaur in case we see 0 other Dimir and just a bunch of great Selesnya cards. Pretty poor pick. I mean, I guess we'll take the Maximize Altitude. The Centaur maybe was a more disciplined pick, but I just don't see us making such a hard right turn into Selesnya. And this pack kind of backs it up. Just another really weak pack. So Fly to the Equinox is fine, but you almost definitely need to be Selesnya with a go wide strategy. If you're not able to convoke this out and you actually hard cast it for 8 mana, then that is a very long game. And if you're in that situation, you're probably happy to have it. It's a huge body that's flying. It can close out a game or block easily. But if you're that late in the game already, then several things have gone wrong. So if you have Convoke, it's a playable, nothing special. Selective Snare is better in a best of 3 because out of the sideboard, if you see, say a bunch of tokens, you can bounce 6 or soldier tokens late in the game, or even less earlier on, and they don't come back. Tokens, of course, don't come back if they're bounced. Other than that, it's a little harder to get full value. Often you're just bouncing the one creature that's going to come back anyway at sorcery speed. Not really that great. Might of the Masses is definitely playable. Better, of course, in a go wide. I guess we're actually considering this Wall of Mist simply because there's not much in this pack for us at all. I don't anticipate us being that grindy or late game of a deck. Mostly you see this in, say, like an Is It control where you've picked up Niv Mizzet already, or just something where this big, large control bomb is going to ensure you win the game late as long as you get there, which justifies blanking out a bunch of creatures without actually taking them off the board by just blocking them out. It's possible we end up somewhere near there, just not very likely. Child of Night as well as Severed Strands are the real considerations here. Given that we do have 2 really good Dimir cards, that is influencing our decisions, but we aren't putting the blinders on. There's just really nothing else in this pack. Dissident's good if you're in Golgari, but it's not even that great. It's not even worth trying to speculative picks for. Prey Upon kind of goes in that deck too, since you have some Death Touchers, though not a lot. Hammer Dropper, I think, is personally unplayable. It's almost just like a one-type effect, unless you have ways to give it like First Strike or have a Battle Trick. Is It Guildgate's one of the better cards in this pack. It's just as a gate itself, though I don't anticipate us needing to splash. So really we're between Strands and Child of Night, and since I think there's plenty of good 2-drops to pick up, and we don't have anything we want to sacrifice yet to Strands, it's still early on, so we'll go ahead and pick up the removal. Pretty weak packs, though, so far. And continuing to be. Smelt Ward Minotaur goes well. It kind of straddles the line between aggro and control for the Is It deck. You can play it in a aggro-y deck for things like Maximize Altitude or Maximize Velocity, or just other things where you're pumping up your creatures or enabling certain creatures to attack, and then every time you do so, you're able to take a blocker out on the other side, at least for that turn, just allowing you to attack in over and over again. If you play it in a more control-y deck, it actually 2-3 for 3 is a decent enough blocking body, and then you can pick and choose with your different spells, maybe if you just have one large creature you want to get in with here and there. So even though it tends towards aggro, it can go in either version of Is It. Not much else besides that. You usually don't play it in Boros. You're usually doing other things, and your instant and sorcery spells are not usually cast before combat. World Soul Colossus looks like it should be good. Like just a big old pump it up. You got a bunch of small creatures or a bunch of mana late. But there's just so many good removal spells in this format that often it ends up just getting... You tap all of your creatures and your mana down for one large creature and it gets blown off. Its head blown off the very next turn. You know, if you absolutely need to, it's not the worst, but it's definitely not as good as it looks. We've talked about Restore, never happened. There's always an effect of this sort at 3 mana and black in almost every set. This one's a little better. I wouldn't say quite playable, not on par with, say, like in War of the Spark, Toll the Invasion, where there's a lot more bombs floating around, so you get better targets to get out of their hand, and you get a little 1/1 token with it. The upside on this one is that you're exiling the card, and you can look in their graveyard, so it's particularly effective against jumpstart cards, or just cards that maybe you have recursive value for because you're exiling it. So a little more upside, still nothing special. I hope we don't have to play one, really. Veiled Shade is okay. There's a small combo with Passwall Adept, which is a 1 colorless, 1 blue creature that is, I think, has a 1/3 body, and then you can pay 3 mana to make a creature unblockable. So if it's very late game and you have a bunch of mana, you can make this unblockable and pump it up. Again, it's very intensive, though. It's an all-right playable if we get there. Locksmith, if you need 2-drops to attack with in the aggro decks, is playable, though nothing special. Sometimes you get lucky and play somebody with a bunch of walls that you can nullify. Maniacal Rage goes in the ultra aggro version of Boros, though usually not in every deck. It's still liable to blowouts, but since there are enough hyper-aggressive decks, this can effectively put it on a Healer's Hawk and close out a game very quickly. Playable in the Golgari deck. Not much besides filler. The Lockets are probably undervalued in this set. They enable some splashing. They were definitely played when everyone was trying to figure out the format a little more, and definitely less now. But I think they're a little undervalued in that sense now. If you're short at 3-drops, often it's beneficial to be able to go from 3 mana to 5 mana the next turn when you untap and cast some 5-drops, as well as it is a bit of a grindier format as long as you aren't a hyper aggressive deck, and so those draw 2 cards effect later in the game can definitely be effective. All of that being said, I'm not super impressed, and I know that we can see a lot of these cards later. None of these cards are powerful enough to draw us off of our Dimir plan so far, so we're going to take a Guildgate just to help our colors, and possibly if we splash later in the draft. Lotleth Giant is a good finisher, possibly even an only finisher for certain decks in Golgari. You really have to lean on the undergrowth mechanic and have a lot of sacrifice creature effects, creatures that you don't mind sacrificing that have their own enter the battlefield triggers. Golgari itself being a fine deck that definitely needs a few pieces to be functional. This can be one of them. If you get 6 or 7 creatures in the graveyard, it can be the finishing blow. Not where we are at. Book Devourer, I don't even know if it's playable. In the decks that it's supposed to go in, you have better options, I think. Talked about Scout, Leapfrog, best in a Izzet Spells aggro deck. Not a great blocker. I mean, generally it's going to trade. It can trade up a little bit with the 3 power that it has, but it's at its best when it's flying alongside like a Piston Fist Cyclops or just some other aggro-y stuff. It can help finish the game out pretty quick. Unplayable Vicious Rumors. Vigor Spore Worm actually has its own little combo in this set. There is a equipment, I want to say Guild Pact Glaive, sounds right, that gives menace and then boosts for how many ever gates you have out. The menace being the important part, just because if you have anything like Vigor Spore Worm that can't be blocked by more than one creature, if you give that menace, it effectively becomes unblockable. So I wouldn't say you can chase it, but it's a good combo to be aware of if you see the pieces starting to be assembled on the board, that this can be an unblockable creature that can very quickly close out a game. Filler, and then Notion Rain, which is probably what we're going to pick, and then of course a Guildgate. Notion Rain is just good card draw. We like to surveil. We don't have any payoffs yet, though Dimir is rife with them, so if we see any, we're more than likely to pick it up. But drawing 2 cards for 2 damage for 3 mana is a perfectly fine rate. Gets us cards, gets us some surveil, and with nothing else in this pack anyway, is a pretty clear pick for us. Creeping Chill is... At first I thought it wasn't really playable and limited, and it is, but only in very specific decks that have a lot of surveil mainly. So if you surveil and you see this and you throw it into your graveyard, you can play it for free at that point, and it's a playable. If not, and you're just drawing and playing it, it's much weaker, and you're almost always going to want some other card instead. I think we talked about Urchin being good in early aggro decks. Nothing much. So really it's between Chill, Rain, and Guildgate. I don't think we have enough surveil yet to really justify a Creeping Chill, which we might just get thrown one of very late in these packs anyway, and if we get it and we can want to play it, or able to play it and want to, we can do it then. You don't want too many Notion Rains, as they do hurt. And sometimes that 2 damage can be very relevant. And without anything else that we're looking to splash or double colors, we don't need another Guildgate, though we'll probably play another 1 or even 2 if they just happen to fall in our laps. So we'll take another Notion Rain. And now we're really wanting to look out for good payoffs for our surveil triggers. So Enhanced Surveillance, when the set first dropped, I thought this was a great card, and then a couple weeks later I thought it was an awful card. But the truth of the matter is it's kind of right in the middle. If you have enough surveil to take full advantage of this, it allows you to dig deeper towards any bombs that you may have, any answers that you may immediately need. And then with surveil, if you have a lot of it, it's not unheard of to get within the last 10 cards of your deck and then be within danger of decking yourself. But if you get at least just 1 shuffle of your graveyard back into your library, then that's very unlikely to happen. So it does have upside, but I don't think we have enough surveil yet to justify it. Slash, it's more of a nice add-on after you're there, not a build towards. And even though these are weak creatures, we do need some creatures, and there's a couple that are interesting enough to us. The only other consideration being possibly a Gateway Plaza, or even Is It Guildgate, if we wanted to speculate and keep ourselves open for any splashable cards, or even a really hard turn into a different guild color pair match. So tempting, but probably overly cautious and not necessary, and we do need creatures. So between the bats and the poisoner, the bats are fine. Flyers have to be dealt with, and there's not a ton of great flyer hate in this particular set. So these can be finishers. That said, we're already kind of thick at the 4-drop. It's not a great card. It doesn't block for crap, and can get taken out by several different tiny flyers. Whereas the poisoner is, you're usually not disappointed to draw it even mid or late game. Certainly you're not as ecstatic as you are, say, to drop it on turn 1, be able to attack a couple times and then hold it up as a blocker against absolutely any creature you want to take out coming in. But all things being equal, it's the best card in the pack for us right now. It's been some pretty weak packs for us. We haven't even really passed too much. I think maybe some form of a Selesnya deck probably could have been around. It's not one of the stronger colors though, and we didn't see any bombs off the bat, but we just have seen a lot of support cards for that deck if we had perfect knowledge. But that's not what drafting is about. It's about trying to make the best decisions for each pick and then keeping yourselves open until a clear path shows itself, which we still don't have. So Undercity Necrolisc is subpar at best, even in the Golgari deck where it can have some synergies. It's just kind of too much for too little payoff. Hunted Witness is good in aggro deck, which we're absolutely not. Same for that. 10th District Guard is absolutely just filler if you even need it in those decks. Which leaves us with Centipede, which is a playable creature, better in Golgari than in Dimir, but still perfectly fine. It trades and leaves behind some value for 3 mana and then nothing else for us, so we'll go ahead and take that. Almost nothing for us. Even though we're still looking at creatures, you can see we see a lot of these, and I don't really see ever playing more than one, even if we're short on creatures. So we'll go ahead and take the Guildgate for increased value for later. Wow. We'll take the Dowser of Lights that we were actually considering out of this pack the first time around. Still not that happy about picking it. Same for the Child of Night. At least most of our subpar picks wheeled for us, I guess. So, I mean, if nothing else, we already have some baseline playable. And now we just need to hit some bombs. Narcomoeba is not that bomb. This is even less playable than its counterpart Creeping Chill. These go in a sort of pseudo-dredge deck that is still around, I guess, though I haven't seen anyone play it or even meme on it with a sort of against the odds style Jink deck. But ostensibly, if you're milling the crap out of yourself and trying to throw a bunch of cards in the graveyard, you're going to get these as well as the Creeping Chills for free. In limited, just almost no value whatsoever. Gird for Battle, I like a lot in my Boros aggro. It's just a great cheap spell. Sometimes you have some synergies by just casting it itself. You can put it on mentor creatures, which then, if you attack immediately, put another counter on a different creature. So its value is pretty high in my personal opinion. Definitely, I mean, not pickable here for us. Swathcutter Giant looks good, but in the deck that it goes in, which clearly is Boros, I've never seen like a Jeskai or type deck in this format. It's just too big and comes out too late and does too little. So overall, it's a bit of a trap, so trying to avoid that. The Selesnya Guildmage, like most of these Guildmages, are good. This is a good card. It is pickable. The Guildmages themselves are all playable one way or another, though some are better than others. It really depends on the deck you have. The fact that it's a 2/2 for 2, just straight up bear stats, not bad at all. And then Trample, the first effect, can come into play sometimes, but really the second effect, if you're going long, is how you're going to win a game. If the board's deadlocked and you're making a token every turn, nothing else, then eventually you're going to have enough to swarm the opponent. Lidev Guardian, I like to call the Loxodon Restorer's little brother. Sometimes, if you need to fill a curve in a certain way, or if you're in best of 3 and you need to sideboard in some big butts, it's sometimes playable. Capture Sphere is some of the better removal, which isn't to say it's great removal, but it does effectively kill a creature for 4 mana at instant speed. There aren't too many ways to get rid of enchantments, or rather even the decks that do play them may or may not play them, Crushing Canopy being probably the best and most played. And sometimes if you're leaving a creature just locked up, like with the Luminous Bonds, pacifism style effect, they can use that as fodder for things like Severed Strands or other sacrifice effects. So pretty good, and we don't have a lot of removal. We have a couple pieces. It's in consideration, but I imagine we're going to go with this Watcher in the Mist. It does everything we want. It flies, it blocks well, it surveils when it comes out. It can fix our draws for the next 2 turns. Or 1 turn, I guess, rather. It's not, Scry, it is Surveil. But likely what we're going to pick, Barrier Bones, if you really need some Surveil, or possibly you're in Golgari and you want to be able to use the Severed Strands that maybe you have a playset or even more of, then it's possible. Command the Storm, definitely playable. Tends towards larger, longer control-y decks, and is it? And that's about it. I'll say Generous Stray if you're in Golgari. You'll play 3, even 4 of these. The fact that it replaces itself, becomes fodder, and then gets into the graveyard pretty quick fuels that undergrowth mechanic nicely. And seems pretty innocuous, but is a definite piece that you want if you're looking at Golgari undergrowth. And then Darkblade Agent, we would be in consideration after these two cards. So between these three are all playable and pickable. For us now, it's going to be Watcher in the Mist, but Darkblade Agent is one of the better payoffs, especially if you have a lot of instant speed surveil triggers. You can make it Death Touch or draw a card, depending on whether it's blocked or not. If you're blocking, then you can always make the opponent wonder if you're going to be able to give it Death Touch and block whatever large creature. Definitely a lot of utility, a lot of use, and we'll play some if we can pick some up. But right now, we're just going to grab our Watcher. Okay, well, oh, man. We might end up trying to splash and get a Golgari Guildgate and maybe put a forest in to try and take advantage of the last half of this statue. One of the better, just instant speed. You can destroy almost anything for 4 mana. The green splash will give us a little bit of a hiccup, but it's so good we might want it. But let's go ahead and look at our rare mission briefing. It surveils, and we get to essentially recast flashback any instant or sorcery out of our graveyard. We do have to have all of the mana to be able to play it right then, so it's not like we can cast this at the end of our opponent's turn and then untap with all of our mana and that card to cast. So it can get a little pricey. Plus, you want spells worth playing this for, because as a standalone, you're just sort of surveilling, and then maybe Strands or an Ocean Rain. No, that's 4 or 5 mana already. Overall, limited, I think its value is not nearly as much, say, as in a focused, constructed deck. Grappling Sundew, you can always pick up late for the Golgari or even the Selesnya deck. There's a lot of flyers, and being able to become indestructible is no small feat, so it's an excellent blocker. Akrin Assassin, also pretty good. Sort of just a death toucher with upside. If you're able to pump it, you can attack in, pump it with, say, like Pax Favor, which isn't here, and take out multiple creatures, because opponents are forced to block. Any creatures available to block will have to block the assassin. And at that point, if nothing else, you can take out their best creature that was forced to block. But if you have any way of pumping this, then you can take out multiple creatures. You can also just trade straight up with a Prey Upon, which is good in that Golgari black-green deck anyway, since you're trying to get creatures in the graveyard. And Death Touch can, of course, trade with any creature. And that's about it. This has been some real slim pickings for us. So yeah, I'm not interested in mission briefing that much. And with nothing else to do, we're going to take Status Statue and try and splash. Here, actually, let's put it over here. Maybe that'll help us remember. There we go. Well, this is a really good card that can win the game all by itself if it's left unchecked. It feeds itself as you just throw cards into the graveyard that it then eats. But outside of a Golgari deck, where you're already playing probably a high number of creatures that want to go into the graveyard, or different ways to put creatures into the graveyard, then this is much less effective and more liable to shoot yourself in the foot with it. And even though we're splashing for removal, it's quite a different thing to splash for a gold card creature with limited upside and potential downside in this particular deck. Beam Splitter Mage is a really fun card to have in the Is It aggro deck. This, along with a maximize, velocity like this, or a Sure Strike, lets you essentially just double up. And depending on what creatures you have, you could have even more synergies that get triggers from multiple spells being cast, things like that. Given just a couple turns and a couple Sure Strikes, Beam Splitter Mage, along with just any other 2-drop, can almost close a game out by itself. That said, just like anything, Is susceptible to instant speed blowouts. Wand of Vertebrae. I don't believe even out of the sideboard playable and limited, but is actually one of the cards that can enable the dredge style deck that I was talking about, since you can mill yourself, and then also as you mill good cards that possibly you don't want all of in the graveyard, you can shuffle back into your library. A counter, which we would not mind playing one of, especially in a grindier deck where you get, say, 2 Devious Cover-Ups. You can grab the first Devious Cover-Up when you cast the second one, shuffle it back into the deck, and just repeat that over and over again, giving you pretty much infinite cards if that's how long the game is going. Informant's playable. We already have a Dowser. And really what we're probably taking is this Artful Takedown. We've already talked about it. It's a good card. We still need removal. I'm not thrilled at how expensive this deck's looking. And even though we picked up the statue, which if it's viable, we will splash, we don't hate any more removal. And we're only taking it really over a Devious Cover-Up, which is probably closer than I'm giving it credit for. But in my opinion, I'll take the sure removal over the possible expensive counter. All right, at least we have a few options. This is our Guild Mage, the Dimir Guild Mage. It's good simply because you can lock down, of course, a larger creature, but being able to surveil with extra mana later in the game and surveil at instant speed can enable things like the, whatever, the Death Blade, Death Touching 2/3 that we were looking at earlier that we'll still play if we can pick up any of. Spy Bugs, just anything that benefits off surveil triggers, doing it at instant speeds, not bad at all. Invent, Invert Invent, it can go into a very specific Izzet deck, nothing great. Silent Dart, pretty subpar removal that if you're totally strapped in, say like a more aggressive deck, that you don't mind dropping this down and then using it turn 4 or 5 because you've run out of cards, is okay, but still pretty subpar. Righteous Blow, decent in an aggro deck. Muse Drake, a 1/3 flyer that cantrips is pretty good for a later, more controlling deck. It can block, some smaller creatures that have been trying to get through in the air or even on the ground, and potentially even trade for some more fragile creatures in the air, or if you have ways to pump up or gang block with it. And replacing itself is always good. Fitted Vapors I find hard to mainboard, though it's excellent out of a sideboard against like Boros decks. Severed Strands we have talked about. Cosmotronic Wave is great as a one-of in most aggro red decks. It's surprising how many times that it's going to be the capstone final card played in a game as you swing in for the last 5 to 15 damage depending on what the board state is. Rubble Belt Boar, out of the different various kind of iffy 4-drops, is probably my go-to if I need a top end and I don't have any real bombs in a Boros aggro deck. Being able to throw down that extra 2 is more pertinent on things that have Mentor, since it allows them again to trigger again. Things with First Strike, anything where you're already being aggressive has a little bit more upside than usual. Plus, look at them big old tusks. Them big. And then nothing else really for consideration. So for us, it's pretty much a slam dunk Guild Mage. Ooh, all right, another Guild Mage. We have a lot of ways to surveil, but I don't think we have any payoffs. This Creeping Chill likely doesn't make it, but we'll see. Altitude I'm not super impressed with. These creatures I'm not super impressed with, but we'll keep them in for the moment. And so we're looking at either another Guild Mage, which isn't bad. Really all it's giving it a run for its money is Informant or Agent, but I honestly might want Agent. Agent can act as pseudo removal if you're using it as a battle trick. An extra blocker that you're probably trading off with if you're using it that way. Can also use to hold up mana for things like takedown, if we get any counters, and if nothing happens, then we flash it in at the end. We don't have any Surveil payoffs, unfortunately, just yet, but possibly that as well. That over a second Guild Mage. I think I just want this agent, though if we didn't have the first Guild Mage, it would be a lot tougher decision. But a 3-drop creature that might push out one of these other 3-drops we don't want with a couple different ways of upside in our deck is most likely where we want to be. Because the thing is, you never actually want to trade off with a Guild Mage. I mean, you will if you have to. And it trades generally evenly, very rarely up. But mostly you want it to stick around, you know, maybe threaten to block if need be, but mostly activate its abilities. So we still need some scrappiness to this deck, so let's go ahead and take our agent. Alright, so Spybug is one of the better payoffs, and we have no payoffs so far. For surveilling, we have a fair number of surveil triggers. We also have a fair number of removal spells, so we're not super high on capture, or even Disdainful Stroke. And that's about it in this pack. So let's go ahead and just grab our payoff. Hopefully we still see some, you know, B-level removal like this is later on. But unanswered, Spybug can get a game going all on its own. So there's some more middling removal. It's actually, I mean, it is definite removal, but in this deck it is a fairly high price. We don't have almost any creatures we really want to get rid of at that rate. The Centipede probably being the top end of any of that. And a Dazzling Lights is not unwelcome here. We just still don't have enough payoffs to make it that good. I don't like taking the second Severed Strands here. Really need some better creatures and actually just better removal. This is best in a Golgari deck where, again, you're trying to get creatures in the graveyard anyway. But I don't think we're going to miss this Dazzling Lights as much. Very likely to pick up another one anyway, and without enough payoffs, it's not really as worth it. Surveil's good on its own, but this is best when it's a trick that saves a creature and you get a payoff and you get to surveil. So, not thrilled, but we'll go ahead and take a second Severed Strands. Alright, wow, that is a late Thought Erasure that we will be slamming with the quickness. And nothing else to really talk about, so yeah. Thought Erasure, if you're not familiar, then you must not be playing a lot of Standard Constructed. It's probably one of the most played spells, one of the most played cards, period. It's just good. I mean, especially in Standard and Constructed where you're really needing to hone in on specific bombs or take apart combo pieces in a deck. Even in Limited, you know, you get a card out, you get to see the rest of their hand, get to surveil, maybe as early as turn 2. Definitely take it. There is nothing else besides Darkblade Agent in this pack for us, but very, very happy to take it. It's another payoff. Starting to finally come together a bit, even though we're still not ecstatic about our power level just yet. Alright, 0 things to take for us here. I mean, I don't see us playing what never happened. Alright, that's a nice cover-up. We already have our big body anyway, so it's no choice at all. And we'll definitely play one cover-up at least. It's an unfortunate late Strands. Could have taken... I forget. The Dazzling Lights, but Que Sera Sera. I don't know if we mainboard it, but grab the Vapors. Take another small creature. Not that we had a choice. At least we got some decent wheels as far as just some filler. Power level wise though, our deck is still pretty underwhelming. That might change though. So now we're finally building up a good Dimir critical mass of good synergistic cards. Thoughtbound Phantasm is great. It's going to make me want to prioritize any other Surveil that we see from here on out, because if we can get this down early, it just keeps growing and growing, and if it does get big enough and a opponent wants to take care of it, they're just going to trade at a mana disparity. I'm trying to think of any one mana. I guess Deadweight? Yeah, I think Deadweight is. So if they get a Deadweight on this before we are able to put a counter on it, then that's the only way they actually trade evenly. But other than that, this is a very powerful card. Playcrafter, if we didn't have this Phantasm, would probably be our pick. It just kind of does everything you want. Clearly even better in the Golgari deck, where you don't mind sacrificing off some stupid little creatures and getting more creatures in the graveyard anyway, or possibly even sacrificing this to itself when it comes in and then recurring it. It also hits Planeswalker, so if they're, for whatever reason, have no creatures and just one Planeswalker, then you can always get that out, maybe even in the second main phase after you attacked and they blocked and had to trade off their creatures, and then you slam this down and they have to sacrifice their Planeswalker. And all of that aside, if they have nothing on the board, they still have to discard a card. So just a really, really nice effect, which we wouldn't mind having whatsoever. But we do need some win cons, and this is just too much synergy for us. Other cards we'd play, we'd take another Whisper Agent in a heartbeat, we'd take a Guildgate. Wishcoin Crab, though I would prefer to not have to mainboard this, is still great out of best of 3, and I will still mainboard if I'm a little short on 4-drops, because it's so good against shutting down the Boros deck, which is a real problem in this format. If you're playing against Boros, you are on a tight clock depending on how good the player is and how good their deck is. And Wishcoin Crab is just really hard to deal with. They're usually going to have to trade a creature and a trick. There are a few like Command the Storm, Luminous Bonds that can take care of it, but it is sort of a must answer, and it's really hard to attack through. So, if we see one of these late, we'll definitely snag it. But yeah, let's take our Phantasm to feel a little bit better about our deck until this pack. 0 cards for us. Or I guess half a card. This card really doesn't go in a Dimir deck. It's a little harder to cast, but it does trade, of course, with anything. It's a better 3-drop than Veiled Shade. So, or usually is. If we get a Pass Wall Adept, then we might keep the Shade in over that. But let's talk about the rest of the cards real quick. Tajik is a Windmill Slam for a Boros deck. It does almost everything you want. You have to pay a little extra mana, which sometimes you're tight on in the Boros deck if you want to give it first strike, so it can attack with impunity. But it has Mentor, it has Haste, it does have the first strike ability if you need it to, and it also has Prevent All Non-Combat Damage, which is fairly relevant in the specific set, and it's just a nice effect if you're playing constructed deck or anything else. That means any, usually red-based, burn damage, or even like the Cosmotronic Wave, which does 1 damage to all of your creatures, it does not occur to any of your creatures except for Tajik himself. So a great Windmill Slam for a Boros deck. Arboretum Elemental, there's a lot more hype for it at the beginning of the set. People were just saying if you got it to hit the board, then that was just game. And there's a little something to say to that. Hexproof is really tricky and obnoxious to get around in this format. Really pretty much have to have a Death Toucher or, Gang Block, or I guess in some world, you have a Dispersal, which I guess we didn't grab one of. But you can disperse it back to their hand, and they can discard it if they have, no other cards going on. Overall, though, give it a, C+ maybe. Circuitous Route, I'll definitely play one of in a green deck. Molder Hulk, generally just not as good as it should be. The Enter the Battlefield effect is pretty yawn-worthy. Like, sure, maybe you've milled some stuff into your, graveyard, but a land at that point in the game is just pretty underwhelming. At best, you're getting this out on, turn 4 or 5 in a perfect world with a lot of ways to dump cards into your graveyard, and then it's just a 6/6 with no trample that can get its head blown off. Just pretty underwhelming. Luminous Bonds, of course, great. Not for us. Gravitic Punch in the Izzet decks can be a way to finish out, get that extra reach you need in aggro or control. Usually don't play more than one of, even if I do play the one. Crushing Canopy we talked about. Sonic Assault, again, goes in that aggro deck. Gorgon, better in Golgari. It's okay in Dimir. And that's about it. But overall, just a real underwhelming set of cards so far. Not sure if we play this Dowser or not. Probably do. Probably don't play the Shade. Probably don't play the Vapors. Probably don't play both these Child of Nights, but we're going to keep them in for the moment, especially with 2 strands. And yeah, alright, so looking at that, there's still just zip diddly squat for us in this pack, so we'll grab our Gorgon that we likely don't play and keep moving. Necrotic Wound is a great card if you're in Golgari. It's a little trickier, so not quite as consistent as you want it to, but I mean, as soon as you get a couple creatures, or even if you're really tricky and can kind of finish off some creatures or use it to reduce a creature so that it dies and saves your creature in combat, it's got a lot of different flexibility upsides to it. It's not out of the question for our deck, it's just much better in Golgari, of course. Kind of same for Pilfering Imp. Better in Golgari, not out of the question for Dimir, but definitely better in Golgari. And with nothing else to look at for us here, I will mention that Rhizome Lurcher is better than a lot of the uncommons that have the same similar effect for Golgari. So if you are drafting that deck, you can easily play 2, 3, I don't know if you want to play 4 or more, it really depends on the composition, but you can always wait and grab these over things like even the Molder Hulk. Like Molder Hulk's a 6/6 for possibly 4 if you're lucky enough to have a bunch of creatures in the graveyard already. That doesn't get any bigger, whereas this has the upside if you draw it late to be, 7/7, 8/8, 9/9, all depends. But none of that is what we're doing. In fact, almost none of this is what we're doing. So it's between the Imp and the Wound. The Imp is safer. The Wound has some potential. Like I said, it can be used as a trick, even if it's not the outright cause of removal for the creature. If you use it in conjunction with an attack, it can be serviceable, even if there's just one creature in the graveyard. A -1/-1 can make the difference. And with 2 Severed Strands, Poisoner, we're probably going to have at least one creature in the graveyard. Do we want it over an Imp? The Imp is okay. And can be good at different stages of the game, but it's it's properly balanced, which is to say I'm not jumping at the chance to play it out, wait till it's out of Summoning Sickness, maybe attack once, then tap it and tap mana just to duress an opponent. Without other reasons for wanting to put it in the graveyard or being able to recur it, this just doesn't have nearly as much value for me. So even though it's a little awkward, we'll take the Necrotic Wound. We'll stick it over here with this statue. The maybe pile of removal. Okay, this, here, make this a little easier for you to see. Overall, this is another very weak pack. Barrier of Bones, seems like it might have some upside since we have 1 Darkblade Agent and a Dimir Spybug, but I don't think it's worth it. And honestly, Disdainful Stroke is great. The only thing I think giving it a run is the Informant itself. Not sure if we want this Gorgon. The Centipede's getting a little boost in value since we do have 2 strands that it looks like we're going to play. Not sure if we're going to be able to splash the statue. I haven't seen any Golgari Guild Gates that have been opportune. And Disdainful Stroke is just a good card. Yeah. Though we would play an Informant, I think I'd rather have the Stroke. Let's count creatures. Oh, I kind of forgot about the Phantasm. Now that I see the Phantasm, I'm going to take that back. Just grab the Informant now. Really makes our Surveil a lot more valuable now that we have Phantasm to pump up, as well as, you know, like I said, a couple other payoffs. Plus, out of this pack, there's almost nothing for us to take besides this Disdainful Stroke. We could take the Gate if we really wanted to try and splash the statue. How many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Outright removal, hand control, and counter, and that'd be another counter. It's a lot of control. I don't know if it's worth stretching to try and get this, even though it's a great card. Whenever you try and splash, you do run the risk of confusing your mana base. I think all things being equal, we'll go ahead and take the Stroke. Though it is fairly tight. Yeah, go ahead and take the Stroke. Alright, we're still starving as far as cards that are good for us. Bury Bones does get better with Phantasm. You know, decent with Agent. Spybug. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 ways to trigger Surveil 7. That's quite a bit. I don't think we really need the bones. And I guess I'll play this Crow Swarm really over a Dowser of Lights. Not so much for the second ability, even though it can be pertinent, but just for the flying ability. If they don't have anything to block in the air, then we can eat them up pretty fast. Oh wow, another Thought Erasure. Interesting. Well, now we actually have a little tension. Thought Erasure has diminishing returns, especially in limited. It doesn't have no value later in the game. Surveil 1 can have some synergy for us. It can be essentially draw a card if we're just getting land out of the way. You know, more chance of picking it up early too. The only thing that makes me just a little bit is I kind of still wanted some more payoffs as well as creatures for payoffs. So right now we're definitely playing these two. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's take 1 Child of Night out. Go ahead and pop the Gorgon out. We still have Centipede and even in a pension format to sacrifice to these strands. That all feels pretty good. And then Darkblade Agent. Yeah, I would love to grab another agent, but I think Thought Erasure is probably just better. Whew. Just a wasteland out here. Well, in case we want to play a Wall and Mist, I guess. I don't think Snare is good enough unless we're in best of 3. We have plenty of other ways to remove, much more effective. Put the Wall on the sideboard just in case. Wishcoin Crab and a Dimir Guildgate. Really feel like we're probably not gonna try and splash this statue, so we'll put it in sideboard for the moment. We'll count Necrotic Wound. Not sure if it makes the main board now too. Now, looking at that, we already have 2 Guild Gates. And so we're between a Drake and a Crab. Now, Stroke doesn't cost 4, but I put it back here because generally you're not casting it until turn 4 or later. Other than that, we have some pretty good draw, some pretty good removal. Yeah, Wish Coin over Drake probably. I mean, Drake does fly, it is in the air. Wish Coin, though, holds down our ground really well. And there's not a lot else that can do that. Phantasm, you know, when it gets big enough. Informant to a certain degree. And then everything else is just these fragile flyers we're trying to fly in with. And not so fragile, but still we're trying to win in the air for the most part. Alright, so Wishcoin Crab can hold down our ground game. None of these matter. Mostly none of these matter. Take the barrier just in case. Take the Mephitic just in case we want it. And for the most part, none of these matter. Alright. So we ended up with a pretty lackluster medium synergy Dimir deck. We only ended up with 1 rare. And even though Etrata is very good, she's not quite a bomb in the sense that she can't win the game on her own. She can do some powerful things for us. She can take out the best creature if we need her to. She is a certain amount of recursion, since it's possible to draw her again. We do have, you know, some extra draw spells, etc. But the damage itself isn't going to win the game, and killing a creature isn't going to win the game. And if we get her out 3 times and exile 3 creatures with them, then that's amazing. And I don't know how we hadn't already won the game, though. So better in multiples and constructed in different ways to abuse her mechanic. In just a limited straight up game, pretty unlikely we win with her extra ability. So mostly just some nice, you know, little blocking, removal, a fun card, but it's not a bomb in the sense that it's going to win us the game outright by itself. So other than that, we're going to have to get in the air, I think is our best bet. And control the board beyond that. So how many creatures do we end up with? 14 creatures. We're a little heavy. I'm looking at this Necrotic Wound. Can probably just come out. It's in the same vein as these strands, except for we don't have to sacrifice for the strand, or excuse me, for the Necrotic Wound. We do for the strands, but the strands feeds the wound in the sense that we need creatures in the graveyard. Stroke will be played later, so we have 2 counters, 2 removals. We're going to play the Thought Erasures. Kind of need Child of Night to power the Severed Strands. I'm going to say... I'll say I'm not sure. Let's take out Necrotic Wound. There's just too much chance that it's a dead card. And we have a good amount of other removal. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 early creatures. And then 2 more we don't mind sacrificing the strands. This is tricky. Again, 14 creatures, not the worst. We're going to play 17 lands. We do have several gold cards. A lot of gold cards, actually, so we're playing both guild gates. Maybe the bats puts a lot more pressure on the swarm, but the swarm can come back. The watcher is a little harder to get rid of. If we control the rest of the game, like the board and our opponent's hand, we can get Etrata back several times. You know, we have Devious, we have Notion Reigns. So this helps our curve the most while losing the least for the most fragile creature. Overall, though, still a little shaky. Not really sure. I'll call this a 5-win deck, possibly. Like, we could win 7. We do have enough trickery and control. The only thing we're really missing is like a disinformation campaign would be perfect. But we have a lot of the other pieces to make this a grindier deck that we win through just some card advantage and then finally beating them in the air. Again, Dimir Spybug. Alright. So let's see if we can't get in there. Silence some fools. Alright, see you in the first game. And there we go. Client's been a little shaky lately. Alright, this is a fine starting hand. Small amount of early aggression. / fodder if we get any of our severed strands. And then just an ultimate blocker. And early aggression might be alright. Wouldn't mind a thought erasure off the top. Alright. Opponent fixes. And no thought erasure for us. Now, if we have to draw a land, an island would be preferable to get this Devious cover-up online. Looks like they might have like a dead weight. They're hovering a bit. Okay. Yeah, we don't mind trading either of our creatures for that. Whichever one they want. The life gain off the Child of Night, to me, is a little more negligible. Oh, wow. Out of all of the things they could have done, I did not expect that. Alright, so now we really want another island. Can hold up this Devious cover-up, but also we need to be able to cast our Watcher. Any Surveil effect, though, would be fine too, since Darkblade Agent. What's up, little kitty? Oh, fine, kitty. I don't want to pet you anyway. Alright. Opponent's got at least Gold Gary going on, and from my experience, Sultai, splashing blue is the most natural synergy. So it's possible they're holding that up. Wow. Well, we asked for it, and we got it. Just going to go ahead and keep our aggression up. We'll trade any of these. Sure. Yeah, that's no problem at all. And we get to hold up a Devious cover-up. Next turn, we'll get down our Watcher, then our Crawl, and hopefully that'll be enough to finish him off. So what do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4 mana? They're trying to get more? one thing. I don't know. We shouldn't be taking this long just to figure out a circuitous route, but if we cut them off of 6 mana, I think it's probably worth it. There's a lot of 6 mana things that we'd rather not have to deal with. And with the Watcher in the Mist, we're going to be able to look at our next 2 draw steps. So if we need removal, then we can do that. Let's go ahead and grab... Thought Erasure seems good. They still have plenty of cards. Yeah. And continue our miniature Munchkin beatdown. Not too many things we're really worried about. We're on essentially a 3-turn clock. 2 if we don't have to worry about a large creature, or if they don't take out the Watcher. And then hopefully our Thought Erasure spikes anything else that they might have. Okay. So, gonna tick up, maybe? I mean, they tick down, then it's dead, and they've just used it as a kill card on them, you know, the Child of Night or the Poisoner. They tick up, and we have to use our whole turn. Okay. That's weird. So they draw a card and gain 2 life? Gain 1 life. That's enough to throw us off of a 2-turn clock anyway. Well, that's if we want a Thought Erasure. I think we do want a Thought Erasure, so let's play this safe. Take out the Planeswalker. Thought Erasure. They have 4 mana, which is absolutely strangling them. Alright, let's... Does it really matter? Doesn't really matter. They're going to play one or the other. Go ahead and take the Dowser. And we want to keep the Centipede. Yeah, let's keep the Centipede. Because that way we can play the Swarm and have a backup if we need to put it back in our hand. Alright, they did find some mana. It's not the biggest deal. Let's go ahead and show them what we got. And this should be gain. Because they can only take out... Actually, I take that back. He could take out the... No, that's still gain. What am I talking about? So if he takes out the Swarm, then it's trade and we have a clear path. If he takes out the Watcher, then the Swarm just swings in anyway and kills him. If he had 1 more mana, then he could Undercities, Embrace the Watcher, and then use the Severed Strands to take out the Cruel Swarm. Oh, well, that's not going to do it. So now you have 3 mana. So he can take out the Swarm by sacking the Dissident. It gives him 1 more turn. Okay, yep. Alright, so we get one of our Artful Takedowns, or... Nope, we draw a brick. Okay. So what is it? It's 3, so it's actually 8 to do the whole thing, and we don't have 8. Man, I guess we can play the centipede, because you can eat that. Yeah, I guess we'll just play down the centipede. So now he can Undercity's Embrace the Watcher. Or actually, he might be able to play the Worm, but that for sure kills him. So he has to Undercity's Embrace the Watcher. And then block the Centipede. Oh, they still had a very thin line that they could have tried to take. But good enough. Good enough for us. Like to get a sharp 2 or 3 win streak, and then we can peter out to like a 5 and 3, 6 and 3. I'm okay with that. Darthpool. Not quite as cool as Deathpool, I guess. Deadpool. Keepable, for sure. It's a little awkward because I want to get the spy bug down before the Thought Erasure, which is slightly greedy, but this is not constructed, so hopefully we don't get too punished. Looks like opponent had to go down 1 card already. Silent Dart. Okay. Alright, it's a welcome land for sure. So next turn, Thought Erasure, and hopefully that pokes a nice hole in his curve. Burglar Rat, you say? Let's see, you can burgle away a Child of Night. That is okay. Didn't want to give up the land just yet. Don't want to be stuck on 3. This is how you make people discard. Playcrafter? Sure. Get out of here. Another Thought Erasure? Actually, crap. Not sure if we actually want another Thought Erasure. We'll hold it though. It surveils, pumps the bug, and it's possible they draw something right there that's super awesome and they want to keep, and we don't want them to have. Red mana, okay. So I say we let them take the Thought Erasure with the Imp if that's the route they want to go. They might take the Strands, I don't know. And we crack down the Whisper Agent at an opportune time. Giving up 1 damage, but we should be able to take out like the rat. Because this does 3 damage, right? Yeah. So we can't actually do both. Yeah, go for it, buddy. Okay, no problem. Absolutely. Kill you. So we can Thought Erasure. They're probably Pilfering Imp, but do we care? Not that much. Yeah. What you got? Nothing. That's fine. Nothing's good with us. Let's go. Position of our opponent isn't great. So yeah, the Imp here, take away the takedown. Yippity skippity. And pass wall adept. No problem. I imagine opponent takes at least a couple licks before trading off that adept. Holy land flood. We don't have anything that takes 2 black. Yeah, because we put the Gorgon out. Just a couple things that take double blue. Sounds correct, so yeah, let's get rid of both lands. We have a couple 5-drops that would be readable if we drew that and got stuck, but definitely want some action. Okay. Yeah, let's just take out you. Goodbye. Swing it again. Just put them on their top deck. Top deck battles. Losing that battle on the top deck. It's fine. I'd rather have 5 out and about and make them think that we always put down mana. Alright, opponent finally keeps back a card. Which is unfortunate. I can't think of too many things that is going to keep us from attacking, so be it. Opponent has something. Or not. Risk factor. We'll take the damage. Yeah. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. Alright, finds another blocker. Let's see, we've moved through 3 lands there. There's at least some action. 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Some slight flooding going on. Let's go ahead and attack. Okay. Yeah, not sure what's an opponent's hand. Okay. Now, devious cover up. Turn too late. Yeah, we still offer up the trade. Yeah, sure. And then we're just going to start surveilling if there's nothing worth countering. Let's see, we'll take the swamp. Do we care enough about the swamp? I don't think I care enough about the swamp. Okay. And it's 3 or more. Alright, so we gotta wait one more round. If we want to surveil, it's interesting. 2 to 5. Or a counter and double, and then, so if we do it and then do it, that'll be 5. We're only giving up a damage per. Yeah, we're just gonna wait, actually. It seems weird into an open board, but honestly, if we attack, we get 2 damage in. But if we surveil, we put a counter here, which does end up in damage as long as we get to attack, of course. But we also get to look at more cards. Yeah, we'll take some more damage. Blood Operative. No, sir. I don't think so. And we will grab Artful Takedown. Whisper Agent, Severed Strands, and Spybug. Why not? Okay, get our Surveil then. Throw away the Poisoner. Keep Etrata. Surveil again. Keep both. And swing for 5, and this could... Well, this probably was it. And we still had the Etrata to play too, so... Pretty good. Pretty good. That is a nice card. Do enjoy me some Blood for Bones. I like how Reanimator's coming back into a little bit more play in Standard right now. Can't wait for rotation, not only because of new cards, but we can get rid of that Scape Shift deck, which is super annoying, or at least the current version. And then I think there's going to be some room for some more Reanimation style decks. Alright, unfortunately, cannot keep this hand. We can't play anything, and there's a bunch of expensive stuff, and just a real good way to get screwed. This one's a little more annoying. We still need to draw, but it's definitely better being able to turn 2 Thought Erasure, look for that third land, and then we're set up with a 3/3 and then top end on the Watcher. Pretty good. And I think we're going second on the draw, which is fine. Nope, we're actually on the play. That's still fine too. Thought Erasure at the gate. Opponent will think it's like Standard all over again. What you got? I got some ugly stuff, that's for sure. He's going to be able to Sprite next turn, which is going to give him a lot of value. He's stuck on 2 lands, though. I think I'm happy taking the Sprite here. And I think the Informant's fine too, actually, since it'll trigger the Dark Blade, even though we'll probably... 3, or do I want land? We're not really holding back any blockers, and we have the Notion Rain anyway. And I wouldn't mind a land, I guess I should say. Don't necessarily want it. But if we're going to go another card deeper, Informant's not that exciting. Right. Get down the Agent. Probably bounce the Agent, which is fine. See, I guess there we could have put down the Informant knowing that they want to bounce to try and look for that other land. But I just as soon work them through their cards the hard way, and whatever their deck draws, it draws. Because it does put us 1 card closer to getting the Watcher out on curve, which is looking fairly viable. So all things considered, if we can slam the Watcher and swing in with the Dark Blade, we're pretty happy. Is he going to get the... No, because he needs another black too. Artful Takedown, okay. Alright, we're going to slam the Watcher. If the opponent gets down their Night Veil Spirit, whatever it is, then we're not that concerned because we just drew a Etrata. Is it target? So target creature. Interesting. We actually can't take that down. Yeah. So swing in, play a Etrata. As long as they stay off of another black or blue mana, the airways are clear for us. Or they can immediately draw 1 off the top and make things difficult. Devious Cover-Up would have been nice. So we can probably draw... Wait, that just gives us 3. It's an awkward Notion Rain time. Let's see what they do. They let it all go? Interesting. It's not a very good race for them. Wow, I am super tempted. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and draw cards. Keep up the devious cover-up is nice. But I don't mind taking the risk that they get down something pretty big, because I can't think of too much that we're afraid of. I don't think this thought erasure is that good now. Yeah, we don't have any triggers either at the moment. Oh, and we pulled Etrata again? Gross. Gross, gross, gross. Well, opponent A sees that we have Etrata again, whether they think it's a second copy or we just drew the first one again. Oh, man. But then they leave the cover up, which we're just going to get the Etrata back on our deck for. And they want to race? I'm not sure. I guess they just were like, we're not going to block, so we might as well race. Well, I'm okay with it. Going again. Amazing. Okay. I'm not sure the math here. They see our counter and they see our artful takedown. So I think they have to block at least this time. Okay, you can have a spy bug. Huh. Okay. If they have instant speed removal they were just waiting to use, I could see that. I guess it could be an artful takedown like I'm using. Or not. It's really weird. So we can likely make sure we get another land, keep up devious cover up. Which I don't hate. Puts us down to 7. Let's see if they have anything first. Nope. Okay, we're gonna do it. No. And also not really. Oh, it's a freaking... But we do have a disdainful stroke, so possibly that's going to fake out our opponent. I don't know. They're really, we're trying to race pretty hard. Okay. So they're in the clear from our counters. Moment, all right. Do we force the trade? I think we do. Yeah, we're going to force the trade. And leave up our expansive amount of control. Okay. It's going for it. I'm going to go ahead and let him hit and just hope the disdainful stroke can catch anything it needs to. If he's got something to say about that, possibly his own devious cover-up would be fine. Okay. Yeah, maybe we should have hung on to the House Guildmage for the... Yeah, if we'd hung on to the House Guild Mage for the Surveil effect, then we could have activated the Phantasm kind of like we did last game. But I really felt like we were going to be able to finish him off there one way or the other. And or just pick up more Surveil tricks. Boo. That's fine. I'll throw away Severed Strands. And draw Severed Strands. Alright, well. Just a-waiting. Yep. So now we have all of the mana. Okay. Ooh, that can definitely catch a disdainful stroke. I don't mind that they know that the devious cover-up's there too. In fact, he might have had his own disdainful stroke, to be honest, which maybe we should have devious covered up so we could have gotten back out of it. And now we flood. Man, we can Severed Strands the Phantasm. Kill the Poisoner. I guess. It is an odd way to go about this, but to be honest, probably works. We'll keep him guessing. So he needs a 3-drop if he's got a devious cover-up to counter our devious cover-up. Or 4-drop now. Oh. Alright. So I'm sure this doesn't matter, but let's be thorough. Where's Etrata at? There you are. And opponent knew it was coming, so that was a very, very tricky game, and that's kind of what Dimir does here. Like I said, our deck power level isn't very high, so it takes even longer for us to grind out a win. But in Dimir, you're generally looking to do what we do. We're killing creatures on board at cost effectiveness, you know, we're keeping up counters when we need to, and we're dinking in damage however we can. We limp along. We'll get picked apart pretty quickly by a finely tuned aggro deck, or even out-controlled by a better control deck. I don't think Spybug is good enough for us to keep. I guess technically we can Severed Strands down by turn 3 or 4 if we really need to, but that sounds awful. I mean, if we draw a land off the top, it's not so bad. Centipede, Spybug and the Centipede, Severed Strands, the Centipede if we need to. We're just really putting a lot on that 3rd mana. Alright. This is a questionable keep. This is ever so slightly a greedy keep. Gross. And gross. Alright, one more try to get this mana out on time. If he attacks, he probably has Righteous Blow, in which case I don't really want to get it out of his hand. He could have been offering a trade. I feel like it was more Righteous Blow, though. Oh man, and we miss. Man, it's almost worth taking out that Healer's Hawk. 2 for 1 though? Sounds gross. We gotta give ourselves at least one more chance at grabbing this mana. It was a real close decision, mulligan or not. Okay. Okay. It's an odd deck so far. Let's toss Wishcoin Crab. I feel like I'm going to want to take out specific things. He's almost for sure got a Righteous Blow. So we can make him keep that Righteous Blow up. And next turn, if we have to, we can Severed Strands the Poisoner. Alright. Yeah, so we tax with both. We play into the Righteous Blow, which doesn't exist? Okay. I find it surprising that he threw out the Healer's Hawk for a trade so quick. Well, this is more about trying to get a land than get a card out of their hand, but we'll do it anyway. Yeah, you don't need an Assassin's Trophy. And God, and we throw Etrata in the graveyard. And we have 2 lands in the top 12. I mean, we're getting punished for sure. But I hate getting punished so badly. That is less than like a 17% chance. Or rather, 70% land. Yeah, we'll let him do the whole rigmarole. Okay. Now we're just getting super punished. $15 of the remaining 27 cards are land. Hey, land. So I don't know if flashing out matters as much. Wait, it takes 3? No, it only takes, yeah. So he can get it to a 4. So we're going to flash out the Whisper Agent. Whether or not we're going to be able to trade for a creature is unclear. Alright. So he's keeping the Veiled Shade smartly, intelligently. Available to pump if need be. Is this an instant? Because you control the game percent indestructible. That's fine. Thought Erasure is not really where we want to be, I don't think. Really need to get another creature down. So really we just need another land to get these Artful Takedowns online. What's he going to play? He's probably going to play the Rhizome Lurcher. So we just get the shields out. Don't care about Indestructible. The Hexproof though. Alright. Alright, let's actually keep it. Trade off a creature while we can. Interesting. Alright, he gets no... Okay, he must have a 3-drop. Yeah, there it is. And so we're going to get hit for 5, down to 2. Alternatively, well, I mean, we're still going to get hit for 4, and we'll trade nothing to the Centipede. We can get an Artful Takedown, so we need a land badly. Okay. And then Artful Takedown isn't even going to touch these Lurchers. So we get 1 Lurcher out, and it's going to be a 6/6. Get to join the shields out. It gets 5/5 and a 5/5. I think we're just done. But sure, we'll try and play through. Yeah, not mulliganing punished us pretty severely, so really nobody to blame but ourselves. Still going for the pumps too. And we took the creatures, so we can't even be getting in there. Man. Yeah, that's just game. I guess. Alright, I guess it's not game. It's almost game. So we kill the Shade, take one from the Assassin, and it doesn't matter because we died to the Rhizome Lurcher anyway. I mean, we were just outclassed. 2 lands for the top 13 cards. It's going to do it. And we're dead. Because, I mean, we can wait till they're upkeep, stop, but it doesn't matter. They can just join shields, and that's it. We have absolutely no other way to get around this. I mean, we put down a Chumper. That doesn't matter because this has to block anyway. Just doesn't matter. Gross. Yeah, it's a nice card. Nice card, opponent. Yeah, and that's just us getting spanked for not mulliganing properly. If we got the 3rd land, probably would have been at least a fight. Man, we cannot get a good opening hand. All right, for sure, mulligan. Not even a snap keep. It's kind of scary. But we will keep. I think we keep Etrata over the Artful Takedown. Etrata's sort of removal in her own way anyway. And it's a decent opening hand. Guess I shouldn't complain. Just a little salty from last game. Fair enough. And now we're needing a mana again. I mean, there's 17 lands in the deck. We're just getting hit by RNGesus in the face. Not a good way. Okay. Come on. Not again. What are you doing? This isn't good math. Not good mathing. Anyway, all we can really do is keep him tapped down for next turn, which isn't the worst. Nope. Yep, go ahead. Press damage and... Okay. Sure. Looks great. Might have to kill that. It's not really dangerous for a couple more turns, but it's not great. Land. Hey. Land. Yay. I will. I'll offer that trade. You want to trade? Guildmage for Guildmage? I'm into it. Perfectly fine with that. And card. There we go. Swarming Fiends. Looks like they're gearing up for a Convoke turn. And we missed another mana. He could have a trick, which would be very unfortunate. Slash, we do want to keep him back to a block anyway with nothing else going on. And at least we get to keep up this disdainful stroke. Guess there was something to be said for having kept the Guild Mage for surveilling. But if we're going to have to Severed Strands it short on mana anyway, next turn or the next after that, then maybe it was a little aggressive. Okay, it's got a battle trick, but only enough. Don't want to give up the tokens. We'll let this one go. Not ready to let go of the agent just yet. Now convoke something huge. Play something for at least 4 mana. Do anything. Okay, at this point, just pass the turn. No? You wanna... let's use our mana. It's good enough to use our mana. I feel like he might have like a take heart. Not entirely sure. We're getting pretty well hosed, that's for sure though. I mean, it's happening again. 3 mana. Oh my god, in the top 11. It's just not cooperating. Pass the turn, doing nothing, and now holding up nothing. I mean, we'll put on full control just to make him think possibly we have a counter, but we're going to go ahead and block with the agent this time. Let him do whatever battle trick they have. Guess we can block with both. What could he have? Let's think. If it's a take heart, that'll make him a 4/3, which couldn't kill both, but also we couldn't kill in response after he did the first strike damage, so no point in blocking with both. Could also just be a Righteous Blow on the other hand. See, we could have double blocked. Man, I feel like we're a little off today. That, or just sometimes when things don't go exactly the way you think, like we should have mulliganed, we should have double blocked. Alright, well, at least we have a 4th mana. And I see no reason not to go ahead and just slam Etrata. And then we'll be able to stabilize decently and maybe start getting in with this Crawl Swarm. This opponent has a lot more cards than us, though. Okay, not sure if opponent has another trick. Taking a lot of time. Ah, okay. That is perfectly acceptable. I mean, probably just attack with the Etrata and take out the World Soul Colossus, right? It's either that or Severed Strands. The Phantasm, which doesn't feel great. Could also hold up to Whisper Agent, see if we can't get some tricky blocking going on and just let the Colossus hit us. which is just really not putting down the Wishcoin crab. Yeah, it's just, whatever. Let's take out that World Soul Colossus. Hold up, Agent. Let's see if we can't get some shenanigans going. Yes, I want that. Could also just have played the crab and kind of been in the same situation as far as blocking wise. Alright. Okay. Yeah, we want to go ahead and get that swarm down. And if he's got another trick, he's got another trick. Alright, no trick. Good. Alright, semi-stable board. Alright, big old Restorer. Why not? I think we're okay getting hit once by the Restorer if he wants to swing in. Just to start smacking him in the face for 4. And then next turn, if we draw land, we can crab and then strands down the Restorer or whatever their best creature is. Or just pop the crab down and let it hang out. Yeah, you got it, bud. 3 damage, all yours. Okay. Okay. Really wish we could surveil one more time. Think we go ahead and take out the Restore. Yes, I think so. Yeah, let's go ahead. We don't have any good blocks against it, which means we're just conceding another 3 damage essentially, whereas they have to have something to be able to take out the crab in conjunction. Alright, I don't think there's any bombs incoming. They're definitely not taking that long. But I'm not sure. I don't think they have any removal. They'd use it on the swarm pretty quick. Ooh, okay, alright. So let's get another big boy. Now, Dazzling Lights off the top would be just peachy. Do we want to take 7? I think so, because we need the blockers. Oh, God. Man, this deck cannot get it together. And now we just have to keep everything up for blocking. Swarm on the worm. Crab on whatever. Stray on whatever. They have another top deck, then we're in trouble, because we cannot... on the worm. So it's looking pretty bad. Okay. I think I don't mind that. Yeah. And now we need another Severed Strands or takedown, etc. We're getting outvalued. And that's completely useless. So that's cool. It's a cool thing. Cover up a little too late. I think we need to throw it away. We have to find a removal or we're just dead. And we're probably just dead anyway. So we have to chump off the worm. Eat that, and then it's just everything else in it. So I mean, that's our best block. And that's game. Oh my god, and of course you're just just a second too late. Just all of this is just a second too late. And Ocean Rain would kill us anyway, so pretty much living the dream, I think is how the kids say it. Yep. And that is how to lose with a medium middling swordsman Dimir deck. Is that 3? Oh, okay, that's 2. Felt like 3. I guess we did start off 3-0. These last 2 have been real feel-bads. Can't get anything going. Kind of shot ourselves in the foot. Not mulliganing game 4, but that game really feels like it just unfolded poorly for us. Alright, well, it's almost everything we can possibly ask for, right? 3 lands, Phantasm. We won't trade off the Guild Mage this time, since that seemed to have been a huge mistake last game. Let's see if we can remember how to play correctly. Yeah. We're going to play it out this way, in the Child of Night, and then turn 3 we can do both of these guys. Sure. Okay, Dark Blade. Not too scared. Drop this down. And next turn, probably keep up the takedown and the devious cover up. Probably. If he swings, I think we let him swing. Next turn we can block and take down. I think he's going to swing. I feel like he's going to swing. I guess he's thinking about the crackback, but there's actually not much of a crackback. Okay. Well, we can let him have a card, or we can trade off the Child of Night. Don't want to trade both creatures, don't really just want to chump, so I guess we're letting him have a card. And there's no good mana efficient play here. Let's hold everything up, and then next turn we can Notion Rain and Guild Mage. Which kind of telegraphs what we're doing, but it's fine. I still don't mind using the Artful Takedown, even if it isn't max value per se. Sure thing. We could have done it now in case they had a Disdainful Stroke we needed the mana for. Doesn't feel like though, huh? Go ahead and pop it off. Tap you, kill you. And we're in business. Strands and a takedown. I feel like we need the strands right now, especially if we got the takedown. Cool. Grab a couple life and feel better about our position for sure. So 6 mana isn't going to be quite enough to centipede and hold up our instance. So we will just hold everything up. Worst case scenario, we also still have the Guild Mage 2. It's fine. Watcher's good. Watcher will get that to 4. We can always use the Guild Mage to keep the Dowser tapped down next turn if we want. Could also attack with both. He's probably going to block something with the Dowser. Oop, except for actually, yeah, it's -2, -4, so we'd still have to trade. Not much for that. Guess we can hold up the takedown when he attacks and kill him with a Phantasm. That opens us up, though, to counter magic. Let's just go ahead and slam our good card. We're already a little ahead anyway. What's that? 2, 4, 6, 7. Lets us get down the Centipede. Do we care that much about the Centipede? Not really. Yeah, let's just keep the Etrata. And go. Okay, we are fine with that. So drop the Centipede. We're going to take 4, which we're cool with. Yeah, nope, no thank you. And we're just going to play Watcher again. Yeah, I mean, why not play Watcher again? That'll be a 5/5. We have no reason to hold up any other mana. Yeah. Not 100% that was our opponent's best plan. Yeah, we'll just keep siphoning away land, keep in action. So we can trade off, eat that. Oh, right. We can just do this. You get to attack now. So he eats the Child of Night. We go to 16. He goes down to 9. And we have lethal on board. So I'd be surprised if he wants to attack with the Dowser. If he has some other backup, maybe. But next turn, we can either play Etrata or keep up all of our awesomeness. Okay, so he walls it up, which isn't that big a deal. Ooh, and doesn't attack? Nope, there he goes. I was going to say, he feels aggressive enough that he's probably going to attack. And I guess we need to get the Etrata down. That sucks. I don't really want to get the Etrata down. If we take down Dummy, let's do it at sorcery. So we can do it at the beginning of his upkeep. We can tap the Dowser, kill the Imp. Let's see how he blocks. Gonna have a Dazzling Lights. Blocks that. Blocks that. Takes 3. We could also use the Guild Mage to keep the Dowser tapped down and play Etrata. Okay, so he's got a Dazzling Lights. What of it? He's just mitigating some damage? Ah, yes. Really? Chumping, okay. That makes things easier. So yeah, hit. Keep you tapped down. Play Etrata. Have a nice day. Chill. Actually, pretty relevant. Oh, okay. Nothing else. Alright, so now we get to just keep everything how we want it. Should we attack with Etrata? Probably, right? Take care of the Dowser, keep up a counter. Yeah, feels good. Okay. And we're looking pretty, not what I meant to do, pretty good. So if nothing else, we can surveil with the Guild Mage. We're holding up a devious cover-up. Could just take that down. Yeah, just take it down. Alright, so tap and kill, tap you, kill you. Could have a disdainful stroke here. Nope. I think that's gamers. Can't think of anything you could have, and we're done here. Alright. Well, definitely looked a lot better that time around. Opponent, though, was kind of slow getting out. Haven't had any amazing games coming back to the set, but I guess I haven't drafted this since the beginning of the year. Probably got spoiled with all the great sets we've had since then. Alright, see if we can get to what I prescribed as our baseline for this deck, which is 5 wins. If we get 5 wins, I'm going to feel okay about this deck. If we just make it to this 4 and we lose this game, then I won't be surprised, but yeah, overall, considering not too many bombs, not too bad. I would recommend, though, if you aren't into control, you can definitely keep an eye towards the Boros aggro or the Izzet aggro decks. But if you open up a Golgari, a black-green bomb, which there are a few of, do not be afraid to get into that particular pool. Essentially, all of the cards will be passed to you, especially near pack 3. Nobody else is, none of the bots are actually drafting Golgari. You're going to get every single bomb that comes your way. This is a very slow hand, but we have both types of mana, and 3 of them, so I'm too scared to mulligan. Even though I'm not thrilled with our curve, especially since it looks like we're actually playing Izzet aggro. Or at least is it. We'll see if it's aggro. Okay. So we can put down the Informant, in which case they both attack. Banneret gets pumped by the Bodyguard. Or we Whisper Agent something in, which I think is probably our better bet. Especially since we already have a 4th land, we can get a Etrata down next turn. Don't love it. See if they have a devious cover-up, or possibly some instant speed removal, or sinister sabotage. Is unfortunate. I would love to thought erasure, but we cannot afford to get punched in the face again. Oh man, opponent has all the answers. Luckily, the Severed Strands is going to play out alright. If we can pull another Swamp, we can bring this semi-even. Alright, that's not bad, but we're still choked on mana. Poisoner still keeps him off. Yeah, Poisoner still keeps him off. Informant can block the other one. And I don't think Thoughtbound Phantasm is really what I want. We definitely don't want this. Actually, 5. It's a horrible blocker. Yeah, no. And I guess if anything, we can throw down the Phantasm and use it for the Thought Strand, or Severed Strands. So Etrata's just too good to do that. Alright, we'll keep it. It's a creature, it gets bigger, we have ways to pump it. And I believe we're dead. Yep. We are just straight up totes my goats dead. Wow. Really feel like we just got clowned in some of these games. And we played a lot of this at the beginning of the year. Definitely know it inside and out. And I'm not going to blame the deck completely. I mean, it was lower power, but I just feel like some of those games we could not make the right decisions. So yeah, if we'd Severed Strands then, we'd have had 5 extra life and the Woodjack would have been dead. We still would have taken a larger hit. In fact, I mean, he maybe still could have killed us. Probably not, though. At least one more turn. But all the same, we just couldn't keep up at all. Outclassed. Well, all the same, they can't all be winners. It's definitely one of the harder drafts that we've shown. But thanks for watching. If you like Guilds of Ravnica, then get in there. It's here for the next 2 weeks. We'll be back to a little more Core 20 before we start talking about spoilers, and then the next Throne of Eldraine. Yes. But as far as our packs, we got rewarded with a Steamkin. Click here or here if you'd like to see any of our other videos. But once again, if you liked it, leave a like. Please subscribe. We're trying to hit a goal by the end of the year, and we will see you in the next video.